Good evening, everyone. Apologies for the delay. We were waiting for some of the commissioners to join. The time is now 6:54. Let me go ahead and put the agenda in the chat, although hopefully all of you have it from either the website or the email that went out. Let me let in some other people. Okay. Okay, so we will officially start the meeting. It's now 6:54. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the ANC 5A February meeting. If everyone can mute, please, if they're not needing to talk, I'd appreciate it. So there's no background noise. Let me go ahead and do a roll call and confirm there's a quorum. 5A02, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Thomas, are you here? Oh, I see you. You're on mute. Okay. Okay, Commissioner Thomas is here. 503, Commissioner Lucio here, present. Commissioner, 506, Commissioner Holloway. Commissioner Holloway, are you here? Commissioner Holloway is not here. 508, Commissioner Bokum.
08 is Alston.
I'm sorry.
509 and I'm present.
Sorry, I have that backwards. Sorry.
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And 509, Commissioner Bokum.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like we have a quorum. We are still missing Commissioner Holloway. Hopefully he will join. Okay, for public notice, just letting everyone know that we still have vacancies in 5A01, 5A05, and 5A07. 5A04 has been filled and we're waiting for a swearing in so that person can join us as part of the meetings. If any of you live in any of those single member districts and are interested in running, please reach out to either the Office of OANC or myself or the Board of Elections, and one of us can share information with you about how to go about doing that. Commissioners, you were all sent the agenda in advance. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a second? I need a second from either Commissioner Thomas or Commissioner Alston. Commissioner Thomas, are you raising your hand? Okay, thank you. I will take that as a, okay, commissioners, you've heard the motion. All in favor of accepting the agenda as submitted, either raise your hand or voice aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas, is that all in favor? Are you in favor? Okay. Commissioner Alston? Can you either use the raise hand feature or come off mute? Or put it in the chat, one of the three?
Yeah, okay, I'm on now. Golly.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Alston. All right. We have 3 in favor, so I'm going to say the agenda is accepted, motion accepted. Okay. Commission business. Commissioners, you were also sent the minutes from the January meeting. Again, I need a quorum vote on this. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from
Put a
January?
motion
move
on the
that we-
floor. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll
All
take
at
it
one
from
time.
Commissioner Thomas this time. Can I get a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bakum, do you have a treasurer's report tonight?
Sorry, I don't have it in writing, but there have been no transactions in the past month.
Okay. So can you tell us what the current balance is, please?
It's 103,000 approximately. I mean, 103,000 and some change.
Could you tell us exactly, please?
In a moment, if we could come back to that.
I can wait a minute.
Okay.
Commissioner Washington, you have a question. Commissioner Washington, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just trying to see if, I'm looking at this, trying to see where all the commissioners were. And I'll save my comment for later.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I understand that Commissioner Holloway is also on the call from the phone, so I will count him as present as well, just making note of that.
Okay, I have the balance here.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
It's $103,095.69. I'll put it in the chat.
Say it one more time for me, please.
103,095.69.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, since there was no official report and just, I'm not gonna ask for a motion to support that, I'm just information purposes. Next item on the agenda, there's no commission action items tonight. We do have multiple reports that we will get to quickly as soon as we can, because we have a lot going on. And commissioners, I'm gonna ask you each to introduce the reports in your, or introduce the presenters in your SMD. Okay, so community updates. Is there anybody from MPD on?
Say it again, please.
Is there anybody from MPD on the call?
Okay, I didn't hear that. Okay.
Okay. All right, I don't think so. So we will try and get them to come to a future meeting. Anthony Black is unable to be with us tonight, so he asked me to give the report from the mayor's office. He asked me to share that the mayor's office budget engagement forum there'll be 2 meetings for that. One is at the Rosedale Recreation Center, Thursday, February 27th at 5:30. The second one is at the Kennedy Recreation Center on Saturday, February, I think he meant March 1st. I think he went March. I have to double check that. He said February. I
It
think
is
they're both
March. It is March.
I
Yeah,
think
it is
that's right.
March.
Yeah, I think it's March 27th and March 1st. So I will keep those in the chat. I know that the council member had his budget meeting earlier this week. Hopefully some of you were able to attend that. So this is the part of the report from the mayor's office. In addition, he said that spring registration for DCPR programs opens in 2 weeks. He said, plan ahead, set up an account, check out the full program list, and log in at noon on those days to lock in your spot. The aquatics programs open Tuesday, March 11th. All other programs open Wednesday, March 12th. And I will put that information with the link also in the chat for anybody who needs it. And then finally, he asked me to share that ward days are Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and you can feel free to schedule some time for us to come meet and address your concerns. So you can reach out to
Just to clarify, it is February 27th, which is tomorrow. For the budget engagement forum.
Emily is muted. We can't hear her.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Commissioner Bakun, for making that, checking that out. I will make that correction. So those have already passed.
No, one of them is tomorrow, which is.
I'm sorry, one of them
Thursday.
was tomorrow, one of them's already passed, so apologize about that. I put Anthony's contact information in the chat. Okay. All right, are there any other questions or any concerns you want brought back to the mayor's office? He asked me to take any comments. I don't see any hands raised. I'll give it another second. Okay. Is there anybody from Councilmember Parker's office on? Oliver, are you on? Okay, hopefully he will join because it's still early in the meeting time. So hopefully he will join and then we can get a report from him. So moving forward, we have 4 presentations. We have one from Yu Ying, one from Washington Latin, one from One Hawaii Avenue, and one from McDonald's. So I'd like to do the Yu Ying and the Washington Latin first. And as they have no commissioners, a commissioner for that area, I will introduce those. So as commissioners and residents, as you know, Yu Ying and Washington Latin purchased a property at the top of Taylor and Harewood Road. It's actually on Drive, right at the corner there. And they are each building schools where the Kirov Academy was. The Yu Ying School, I believe, is complete. The Washington Latin School is still working on it. So I'm going to turn it over first to Jose, and Jose, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can share your slides so that I can take notes. But I will share their slides for those who want to see them further on the website after we're done. So Jose, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. Give me 1 second while I pull up the presentation here. Can you all see the full screen for me? Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Sousa. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Washington Yu Ying Public Charter School. And again, thank you to ANC 5A for having me this evening. I was present with you all last month where a couple of questions came up, and we met with several of the community members in January, a few weeks after we opened, in order to share some of the updates with you all. Our school opened up and welcomed our preschool 3, pre-K 4, and kindergarten students on January 2nd. Just go on to the next slide here. What you see here is the new building, which is the building in gray and black there, and then which is located at 4350 First Street Northeast, and then of course our original building, which now houses our elementary school campus, which is grades 1 through 5, about 2 blocks away from the EYC. Wanted just to share a couple of updates that we presented to the community. The majority of our students still attend the main campus, but we now have, like I mentioned, our earliest learners attending the 4350 First Street building. We've instituted quite a few.
Sorry to cut you off real quick. Your slides disappeared.
I can still see them.
That's odd. I can't.
Says
Other
big
people
picture
say they can see
ideas.
them. That's odd. Could you just undo them and do them again? I don't know why they disappeared from my screen.
Okay, 1 second.
Thank you. I can see them now.
No problem. Thank you. If you've driven by the site recently between 8 o'clock and 8:30, you usually see me at the corner of First and Varnum Street Northeast helping direct traffic. We also implemented walking school buses in order to kind of get students between both campuses in order to minimize parent pickup and drop off at more than one location. We are using some parking spaces over at Archbishop Carroll in order to alleviate parking impacts to the neighborhood, where we have several teachers parking over at Archbishop Carroll. And we're continuing to finesse and improve our arrival process. I can say with a great amount of confidence, forgive me, I'm getting over a cold. The procedures have gotten much better every day since we started on January 2nd, and the last couple of days have been particularly smooth. But I did want to share some information about what is helpful for you all to understand. The majority of our families, like I said, still attend our main campus, and then we have some families who have students at both buildings. Those families drop off their first students on 2nd Street, and they use our Nature Center, which is located at the intersection of 2nd Street and Taussig. And then if they have a child at the Early Childhood Center, then they come down and they either take Varnum, Victor, or Webster to come loop back around in order to drop their children off at the EYC. We have staff members out front to help unload those cars to kind of keep things moving. I've wanted to include a couple of the windows of time here. Our arrival process typically lasts between 8:05 a.m. and 8:35 a.m. Those first 10 minutes are very, very smooth. There's not a lot of backup, and it's smooth sailing. It does get more congested from about 8:15 to 8:35. It's really that 8:25 to 8:35 minute window when families are kind of struggling to beat our deadline in order to get in. But we basically try to keep traffic moving from First Street, from Varnum Street, and move things on there. We also have several families that are carpooling to consolidate the students that are in their cars. In addition to this, we also have one bus, two shuttles, and an Aussie bus that drops off in the same window. So we're also filtering them into our process. Our dismissal window is from 3:35 p.m. to 3:55, and that is a park and walk up situation where families will park their vehicles and walk up to school to get their children. And the same thing happens in the evenings for aftercare dismissal between 5:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. Couple of things that we've shared here with our families in particular is the importance of being kind to our neighbors, to defer to them when they're trying to get into and out of their parking spaces as they're getting their day started, to stay in our carpool lines until they're waved out of them by our crossing guards, to make sure that they're unloading their children safely curbside in front of our building, and to abide by guidance from our staff, especially in the crosswalk area. In particular, we're trying really hard to make sure to impart good behavior. And at dismissal today, even whenever I see somebody trying to park in a driveway or an alley or in a handicap spot, I shoo them out of those spaces, prevent them from making illegal U-turns at the intersections, in order to not just keep our students safe, but also to keep the neighborhood safe. As many of you probably are aware, First Street can get very speedy in terms of the speeds of vehicles that are traversing through there. We've been working closely to ensure that we can enhance some safety measures there to assist keeping that space safe and convenient for everybody. And in particular, reminding families that these are all two-lane roads. So when they're on a street, they must leave room for oncoming traffic when they're coming through there as well. I'll also just add here, that went ahead. We are working with DDOT to make some recommendations for helping us provide crossing guards. I don't know if anybody saw the article, but it's been exceptionally difficult for DDOT to fill crossing guard positions across the city. We're also looking to see if some recommendations to potentially add a stop sign at the corner of First and Varnum. Right now, there's a stop sign on Varnum, but not on First. We think that'll help out a lot with calming down traffic in that area, and installing crosswalks specifically at the corners of First and Varnum and at First and Urell as well, while also requesting that they upgrade the crosswalk at the corner of 2nd Street and Taussig Street. Lastly, I just want to throw out there that if you are encountering any challenges, please reach out to me. This is the best way to reach out to me, leadership@washingtonying.org, and my phone number. I will put both of these pieces of information into the chat. We had a very good meeting on January 16th with the community, and we'll be coming back out in March to try to finalize the date. And we'll invite all of you to take part so that you can hear more from us about what's working and get feedback from you how we can improve on these procedures. I know to be hearing from my colleagues with Washington Latin shortly. This is a partnership. We know that once they come online, there will also be some changes to the procedures on that. And our commitment is to work with them and work with all of you to make this as seamless as possible for the neighborhood. Thank you again, commissioners, for the opportunity to present to you this evening.
Thank you, Jose. Couple questions I have real quick.
Sure.
You mentioned about trying to get a stop sign, crosswalks, and yeah, I think that, and then the crossing guard. If we can be of help, if we can write in support of that,
That'd be
for the stop sign and for the crosswalks, please let me know. We are happy to sign on to support that, because we're all
Thank you.
about school
I'll
safety
share a
first.
draft letter that we're finalizing on that, but we'd welcome your support on that. We think it would be helpful to the process. Again, that's not making a substantive change. It's just meant to enhance some of the safety features that could be beneficial to the community there as well.
Okay, obviously we'll be want to work with the residents in that single member district. But you know, obviously we're all in favor of safe walks,
Yeah.
safe routes to school. So I'm happy to work with you on that. The question in the chat that says the stop sign at the corner of First and Varnum is no longer there. Was that removed for construction? And if so, when
Not
was
long. Right, what you gonna do?
I'm not familiar with which one they're referring to. There's still one located on the westbound side. I will check to see if there's one that's missing on the eastbound side tomorrow morning, but I believe there's still one there right now. I'll double check in the morning though.
Okay, commissioners, any commissioners have questions?
Yes, yes.
Good, Commissioner
Uh,
Thomas, thank you.
Yeah, I'm listening to the gentleman. Uh, it will take maybe 3 or 4 years to get a stop sign, so that part is not gonna happen anytime
I'm
soon.
aware.
Okay, so that's one angle. The other angle, and I'm gonna ask our chair, and who the ANC is, there's no ANC, but what's his name? The other commissioner, he's helping out, right? Mason.
Yeah, we've been working with Commissioner Holloway, and we previously worked with Commissioner
Yeah,
Boston.
okay. I look, yeah, I had the chance to go up there and look at the school and look at the area, and that I'm very little disappointed because it was new buildings in an area where the homes are already boxed in, and the traffic congestion is just off the chain. DDOT couldn't help them if they wanted to start that up now. Okay, we have a problem with DDOT throughout the city. There's no way they can come in and fix that. But I would like to hear what the neighbors have to say, what they encounter every morning when you guys come in there from Monday through Friday, and especially in the afternoon, and then the activities, the campus staff there. I teach at a school part-time, it's Kingsland Elementary, and it's zero parking. It's been zero parking since 1940 when that building was built. It's on 9th and Keith, where Howard Theater, and no parking at all. And the neighbors are very upset of what's going on because the cars are all over the place. The city had this thing where they let the teachers park on the streets for 8 hours so they can teach. After 3:30, they have to move the cars. So I don't foresee this be another avenue where we're having this going on. It's not going to it's not like going to change. It's going to get worse for the homeowners over there, and that's what I'm looking out for, the homeowners. Yeah. So you guys, if you were selling me a car, it'd be hard for me to buy that car tonight. I tell you that, and that's just me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Jose, do you want to respond to that at all? I know that you've been working hard at the traffic and the parking, and
Yeah.
just, you
So
know,
the
so there is a question in the chat that's related that said also, can you ask teachers and staff not to park in front of their houses on Barnum Street? So maybe you can address both
That's
those
correct.
at the same time.
That's correct. Thank you. And we specifically have asked staff to not park on Urel or Varnum. And the majority of our staff still actually parks in the spaces that we have at 220. We have a bunch of teachers who are still parking at the original building site and walking over. Um, and once Washington Latin finishes their construction, there will be some shared parking spaces that will also be existing within their site that proportionally are going to be given to them and to us. And so I think this process will continue to improve on that front. I'm not going to dispute what Commissioner Thomas is sharing. The problem that we're talking about here is not unique to Yu Ying. There are schools all over the district, and in almost every location where there's a school in the district, there are parking challenges because a lot of our teachers are coming from different places. We're trying very, very hard to make sure that we are being responsive to community challenges. I've been present at every ANC commission meeting that you all have had since September on this and maintain our availability to work with you. If anybody wants to meet at the school, at your home, I'm happy to go out there and meet there with you to see specifically how you're being impacted. Just send an email to the email address I put into the chat or give me a call. I pride myself in being accessible and available. And so please let me know, and happy to sit down and try to work this out with everyone as much as possible to the extent that we can. The reality is a traffic plan was part of the entitlement process when the school was proposed. It was approved by DITA, and we are now open. And our colleagues at Washington Latin are also building their school. So the schools are being built, they are there. Our commitment is to, of course, make sure that we continue to be accessible and solutions oriented on mitigating the impacts that are happening to the residents, of course.
Thank you, Jose. Are there any other questions? For Jose. Okay, then let's move on to Washington Latin. Jose, if you can stay on, because it's possible that some of the questions they asked for Washington Latin may be related to Yu Ying as well. So I believe who's presenting for Washington Latin?
I'm going to
Chief.
present.
I'm sorry. Okay, so who has the who needs to screen share the slide?
I need the screen share if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Okay,
Thank you.
Peter.
And I might have I might ask one or two of my colleagues who are on the Zoom to chime in at some point. But
Yep, if you want just to introduce all of yourselves, that'd be great.
absolutely. Let me do the screen share first. Thank you for this. Great. So my name is Peter Anderson. I'm the head of schools CEO for Washington Latin. This is my ninth year in this role. And I appreciate the opportunity to come before the ANC for yet another time. And it's the last time I was on with you, I was actually on with Yu Ying. So it's appropriate to be following Yu Ying as Jose mentioned, we're partners in this project. And we presented initially and got approval initially in partnership. And so it's appropriate that we're following behind them. I know that you heard from two of my colleagues last month informally, Kate Cromwell, who is our Director of External Affairs, and Martina Fleming, who's our Director of Operations. And they're both on this evening, but also on is the principal of the Washington Latin campus that is going to be at 4301 Harewood Road, and that's Kashifa Roberts. So just wanted to make sure that you see those people. They're on this evening, and you might be hearing a little bit from them. And I don't have a whole lot of time, so I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. Again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. So as you've heard, our construction, as you've heard and as you've probably seen, our construction is well underway at 4301 Harewood. And just so that you have a quick, I'm not going to go into this too much because we've talked about this before and many of you already know this, but this project had different phases. And the first phase was a planning phase. Then there was construction that was conducted by Washington Yu Ying. They were able to move into that property in January, and we are in our construction phase and expect to move into our campus in the summer. And you can see the layout here of where we've got the original Care of Academy building, which we are renovating at present. And then there is the new construction that is behind that property. And you can see where it is relative to the existing Yu Ying building. Okay. One of the things that you should note here is that we will have a fence and a gate that is closed during the day, but that will be open for pickup and drop off. We'll say a little bit more about this, but when students are being picked up and dropped off, there is a loop that goes into the property through the gate, so behind that fence, that will allow for some pickup and drop off. We'll say more about that in a moment, like I said, but you'll see the new building. That's what it's going to look like when it's completed, when the construction is completed. That new building will primarily be for our middle school students, and then the upper school students or high school students will occupy the renovated building, again, for the most part. There'll be some overlap, but that's sort of the breakdown. What you should know is for next year, we will only have one grade of high school, one upper school grade. So we'll be moving in, we'll have a full middle school, grades 5 through 8, but we'll have ninth graders, and that will be the only high school grade that we'll have in that first year. Some more renderings. So that's the traffic loop for pickup and drop off. And again, I'm going to ask our director of operations to say a little bit more about that in a moment. But you'll see that there is an area for cars and for people to come in when the gate is open in the morning and in the afternoon. During the regular school hours, it will be closed. So the email address that you want to remember is communication@latinpcs.org. If you've got questions, if you've got concerns, if you've got feedback, one of the things I should share with you is that I had an opportunity I guess it was on President's Day to visit with a number of neighbors in the neighborhood. Ms. Fleming, Ms. Cromwell, and a few others of us had a chance to walk around and speak with the neighbors, get a sense of some of those concerns were, a little bit about our plans. And we heard some of the same concerns that I know are being raised tonight. It's more that we could say, but I'm going to leave it real quickly. I'm sorry. Let me keep going, and then we'll have the opportunities for questions. Our students, unlike the younger students who need to be walked into the building, for the most part, are going to be coming to us from Metrobus, from Metro Train. We have our own bus service that services various neighborhoods around the city. And then there will be some car pickup and drop off, but the idea is not that parents were in the community and then come to either drop off their kids or come to collect their kids. Kids will be going home. While we sometimes see more car pickup and drop off at the beginning of the year, as the year goes along, our students tend to, because they're older, they tend to want to get to and from school on their own, and that we've seen in our experience allows us to have fewer vehicles coming into the school community. You can see what we have listed here, that the gate will be open to create the loop for our cars. And one of the things that is so important to communicate the difference between what we're sharing and what Washington Yu Ying is sharing is Washington Yu Ying is actually living in the building. They've had some experience now for the last 6 weeks or so to see what it's like to have kids coming in and out of the building, to have parents picking up and dropping off, to have the traffic flow patterns established. We haven't had that experience yet. And what we often find is that it takes a little while for us to get a sense of what some of the pain points are and how to mitigate them. And so we fully expect to, while we do have a pickup and drop off plan, and we can talk a little bit more about some of those details, it's not finalized. And even what we have on paper will be modified based on the experience that we'll have in the beginning of the school year. One advantage is that our school year begins a little bit before DCPS. So we have a little bit of sort of flexibility to be able to start working out some of those kinks early on. Okay. And in terms of faculty transportation, our existing temporary space where the existing middle school is located at present has very limited parking. It's in a neighborhood where there is not a whole lot of options for parking. And we have said to our faculty in their contract that no parking is provided. And the idea that we've communicated to them is try and find alternative ways to get to work. So whether that's using public transportation, whether that's walking, whether that's for the limited cars that are available, whether that's carpooling. We've tried to find ways to minimize the amount of faculty traffic just don't have any options for parking in that area. So we're not going to be going into a place where faculty are expecting to have a lot of spaces available to them. There will be both on-site parking, and we're exploring some additional options for parking in some off-site locations that will support the not just the faculty, the limited number of faculty who might be parking and coming into the neighborhood, driving into the neighborhood, but also for parent visitors. One quick thing that I want to stress is that we see ourselves as a community resource, and there are a variety of ways in which we have tried to engage with the community. We're sharing on this screen some examples at our Second Street campus. We anticipate offering a similar menu of services and resources in this location. Again, we need to live in it for a little bit just to have a sense of what makes the most sense, but that is the plan. And okay, 1 second here. I think that might be the last slide.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask 2 questions if I can. Can you tell me what your numbers will be this fall when you have 5th through 8th and 9th in there?
So the expectation is that we'll have somewhere around 450 students.
Okay. And what is it going to be once you're at full capacity, and when will that be?
So we're going to add a grade each year. So we'll start off with 9th grade in the upper school, and then we'll have 3 more years beyond that before we get to full enrollment, and that will be a little over 700 students.
Thank you. I do want to mention for the community. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm trying to take notes at the same time. I do want to mention for the community that I have been in conversations with Peter. As you all know, Washington U Ying and Washington Latin are in single member district 5A05, which currently does not have an ANC commissioner. Due to the inclement weather we have had over the course of the winter, Washington Latin is asking for exception to be made for additional construction days on holidays. And so there is a single member district meeting on for 5A05 on Thursday, March 6th to discuss that. The Civic Association has been invited, and also the neighboring Commissioner Holloway has also been invited to share with his residents as well. So I wanted just to make note of that publicly. I see a hand from former Commissioner Washington.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. You answered a few of my questions that I had written down about capacity for at this location, and thank you for doing so. One of my concerns is that once you reach the capacity at that location, and with having Archbishop Carroll across the street, and they have a large number of high school students, and you plan to have high school students, how are your high school students planning to be, what mode of transportation will they be using to attend the school there, the Latin school there? And also, at your current location, you said that you guys, didn't have any parking and so forth for staff. How did that work out with the community? Because I do know where you're located, and I know a lot of folks that live over there that did complain about, parking in that area. So in comparison to where you are now and where you're coming to, how much of a difference is there going to be in parking as it relates to your staff? What's going to be the benefit? Is there going to be any difference in what you're experiencing now as to what may be anticipated for this new community that you're coming into, where we have already Yu Ying there with 2 locations as
Absolutely.
well?
So let me just clarify something and appreciate your questions, former commissioner. When you say that you know about parking in our other location, are you speaking about the Second Street location in Wharf?
Yes,
Okay,
in Ward 4.
that's actually, so we're not leaving that location. So that is our other campus.
Okay,
When I was talking about no parking, I was referring to our temporary location in Edgewood. That's the space where we've been for the last 3 years. That's where the middle school that is moving to this location is moving from. And
okay,
that's where we haven't had parking issue. Now, I'll tell you that there were concerns from the neighbors before we moved in. And the very first, we decided to get a sense of how we would arrange pickup and drop off by sort of trial and error, and use the summer school as an opportunity to practice that when we didn't have other schools open. And I'll tell you, after the first day, there were a lot of concerns and a lot of complaints. And the second day, Zachary Parker, who wasn't even the council member yet, he hadn't even won the election. He had just won the nomination. He was present, and I was out there with him. And even by that second day, we had figured some things out, had tried some things differently, and they had made a huge difference. And that's our commitment, is that we're going to do the things that, won't be perfect, but we'll do the problem solving, we'll do the troubleshooting, we'll take the ideas, and we'll make progress. And clearly, it's not a perfect situation, because in that area where we're right now, there are several schools all concentrated in the same area. It's actually even more schools in that area than we have in this Ward 5 location. But we've learned how to work with each other. We've learned how to stagger arrival and dismissal times. We've learned how to survive with minimal parking opportunities. And so that's something that we're going to continue to work on. One other thing though, because you asked a question about our high school students and how they will come. Right now, the majority of our high school students at our Second Street campus, the majority of them come the ways that our middle school students come. So they come by Metro bus, by Metro train, by fewer of them come by our bus, our charter bus. That's more of a middle school thing. Some of our high school students do take the bus, but that we offer, but that comes mostly with middle school, and some of them will walk or they'll use bicycles. So that is what we expect will be the majority of students' mode of transportation. And one of the things that we've said, like, we do have high school students who will sometimes get their license as juniors or seniors, and we say to them, there is no parking at school, so you got to figure out a different way to get here. And Celie, you still have your hand up, so I don't know if you have another question you want to ask.
The only thing that I want to say to that is, the area that you're coming to now is much more residential than Edgewood, just like your Second Street area is. So just bear in mind that, with the residents, because that's a real hardship to me on a community when there are schools that come with a lot of movement of transportation for drop off and parking for teachers and things of that nature and staff. It's when you're in a residential neighborhood, it's totally different. Totally different. That's just my final comment. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, former Commissioner Washington. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands. Sorry, my screen was off.
My hand's not working, but I have a
Okay,
question.
Commissioner Alston, go ahead. And
My
Commissioner Alston, never mind, go ahead. Go ahead.
my question is, I guess it's too late now. You knew that it wasn't going to be a lot of parking. Why didn't you plan on having parking on your facility for the children and the teachers? Second, have you made any provisions or for the kids who actually live in the neighborhood to go to your school? And if so, how many do you have?
So let me take that question first. We are at the mercy of the DC laws that stipulate that students are accepted to charter schools via lottery. And just like the DCPS also has a lottery option where families can select schools that are not their by right neighborhood schools. Similarly, families can choose charters. And so we do serve students from across the city. We do have the majority of our students for the Cooper campus. I should say the majority. The largest, the ward that sends us the most students is Ward 5 for the Cooper campus.
Ward 5.
Ward 5. So we have more students coming to us from Ward 5 for this school than we have in any other ward. Now, some of them are going to be from the single member district. Some of them are going to be from adjacent districts, adjacent single member districts. But the largest number comes from Ward 5. One thing, the only thing that we have a little bit more control over, because like I said, we're at the mercy of the lottery, is that there is something called an equitable access preference. This equitable access preference allows, because we do have a long waiting list, just like Washington U Ying, a lot of families are interested in sending their children to our schools. But there is an option for certain families that meet certain criteria. And I can go through that criteria if you want me to, but those families have the opportunity to skip the line to some respect, to be able to have a preference in the lottery relative to others. And if there are students who live in the neighborhood who meet that criteria, their chances of getting in are a lot higher. If they don't meet that criteria, then their chances are the same as students who live anywhere else in the city. So there's that. With regards to the plans that for parking. It was simply a matter of real estate and the fact that we just didn't have enough space on the property to be able to add additional parking spots unless we were going to talk about a project that was going to be twice as expensive to do underground parking, for example. Which, believe it or not, I did explore, but we would have not been able to afford the loan that would have been necessary for us to do something like that.
Okay,
Peter,
that
I'm so sorry, Miss Alston.
yeah. Is it possible, like the people that's going to be catching the metro instead of driving, you a bus to pick your staff up, or a number of people that you know will be on metro at a certain time? That would eliminate, especially your staff, perhaps. That would eliminate a lot of parking too in the neighborhood.
We're open to considering all kinds of options, and I've got my director of operations on the call, and we're continuing to talk about a variety of different options that will make it easier for the neighborhood. Ms. Cromwell, I think you also wanted to say something real quickly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, and there's a question in the chat about the equitable access preference. In my department and in external affairs, we manage the whole admissions process for students. And so let me just share what that preference, it's called a preference, but how we use it at Washington Latin. So as Mr. Anderson says, we are bound by the rules of the lottery, which include that we are only allowed to offer preferences that the DC Council has approved. When I've been at the school for a long time, I've been there for over a decade, but when I came into this role, I asked all kinds of questions, including, can we offer a preference to the neighborhood? Can we is there any way to select students based on location? And that is not allowed, unfortunately. And I think we hear you, and we heard this when we were canvassing in the neighborhood and talking to neighbors. I think it is something that would take a much bigger effort than Washington Latin. And at the same time, I think we all understand what the concern is, that there's a new school in the neighborhood that doesn't feel particularly accessible to those residents who are dealing with the issues like parking. So what Mr. Anderson mentioned is the equitable access preference and the criteria. This is really aimed at families that are primarily low income. So for students whose families receive SNAP, food stamps, TANF, emergency assistance, students who are in the foster care system, or a family that is experiencing homelessness, which can be, in a shelter, but it can also just be doubling up. I mean, it doesn't need to be in a shelter situation. Those are the students who qualify for what's called a preference, but as Peter Anderson noted, it's actually set aside seats. That is, we hold seats open until we get enough students who qualify. And we shared some information about that when we were walking through the neighborhood, and certainly if there are any families who have questions, who are interested in learning more about their children attending Washington Latin, either campus, I would love to talk to them. I put our information in the chat, but I'm also happy to answer questions now.
Well,
Thank you. I'm gonna, go ahead, Commissioner Alston.
I'm very happy to hear that you are working with Commissioner Holloway. Perhaps he could locate, or some the people in the neighborhood could get in contact with him to make sure they meet the criteria before they come to you, because he knows everybody in the neighborhood. And that would be very helpful, because it would be very nice if we could get some kids in the neighborhood who qualify into the building.
Thank you, Commissioner
That's
Alston.
what I want.
I'm gonna try and wrap this up so we can move on because we have a long agenda, but I will say that, this is not a new topic, right? We had this same conversation when Yu Ying came into the neighborhood. We've been, aware of this issue with the charter school system and the lottery system. And this is something that I know Councilmember Parker has talked about a number of times as well, when he was on the school board and now when he's council member. So I know that this is an ongoing issue that gets raised quite often in this neighborhood because we have so many charter schools in this area. And there's definitely a desire for there to be a neighborhood preference, but we understand, that they want to benefit all the schools. It just happens that we have some of the cheapest real estate in the city. So compared to some other areas and more real estate available than some other areas, some of the more densely populated areas, which is why we end up with a overabundance of the schools in this area. So thank you all very much from both Yu Ying and from Washington Latin. We appreciate you coming on. For those in 5A05, please, a notice was sent out for that meeting. If you did not get it, please reach out to me. Commissioner Washington, you had one question?
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm going to piggyback on Commissioner Alston, about students, reaching out to students in the community and working with Commissioner Holloway. I just want to say from my experience as a former commissioner dealing with 3 chartered schools in 5A07 and talking about students in the community, the majority of the students who attend those charter schools do not live in the community. I mean, it's very limited children within that area of the city on the Fort Totten side that live in that community, that attend chartered schools. And like I said, we're stuck between the charter schools of Yu Ying and Latin now, and DC Bilingual and Brea Bridges. And if you can tell me, and all these have the same age group of children, that there's that large number of children that live in our community. And I would say, go further to say that the majority of the children that attend those charter schools do not live over in the Ward 5 area.
Thank you, former Commissioner Washington. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it. We will continue to have these conversations and work with you as the project moves forward. Hopefully you'll continue to give us updates. And then I will see you in a couple weeks for the single member district meeting. Thank you all very much. Okay, so moving on. We have the One Hawaii Avenue update. Commissioner Holloway, can you introduce the speakers for One Hawaii Avenue, please? Are you still on? Commissioner Holloway, are you still on? Okay. Joe, I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead then. And I'm going to give you screen sharing.
Could you give it to Grant, actually, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll let Grant kick it off. But I am Joe Nelson. I am a construction consultant to Wesley Housing, overseeing the general contractor and the design team out at One Hawaii Avenue. And I'll let Grant introduce himself and get things going from the Wesley Housing side.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Joe. And thank you everyone for having us here this evening. Excuse me. Like I said, or like Joe said, my name is Grant Cole. I'm a project manager with Wesley Housing, and we are the developer at the One Hawaii Avenue project. And I'm just gonna kick it off with a quick refresher on the project, refresher on who Wesley is, and then kick it over to Joe for some construction timeline updates. But again, wanted to thank you all for your time, for having us here this evening, and for the previous support of the project and input on the development that this ANC has had. So yeah, thank you all. And you can see here a little bit of our mission for Wesley Housing. We are a nonprofit affordable housing developer based in Alexandria. We've been around for over 50 years now, developing across Northern Virginia and the district. And you can see here some kind of overview stats. We have a whole property management arm, so we develop to own and keep things affordable for the long term. And you can see here a little overview, a rendering of the project. Wesley was brought in via the TOPA process when the tenants at the building that formerly occupied this site selected Wesley. This is a full redevelopment. It's going to be a 4-story, 70-unit building with a wide range of unit types from studio up to 3-bedroom, serving those, making 30 to 80% of the area median income. And really, we want this to be a building that is both meeting a real need and is a beautiful building, a green building that the community can really be proud of. And so we're really excited about the progress we've made. We have great partnerships with, DC DHCD, DCHFA, the folks on the ground doing the construction, architects. And so we're really excited about this one. And Joe will give a little update here on where things stand.
Sure. And to speak a little bit more about the sustainability goals that we have, the building is targeting LEED Platinum, which is the highest LEED rating. So that would be a huge win for an affordable housing development. We did break ground at the beginning of July, and things have been moving rather smoothly out on site from the construction perspective, other than the weather, which has been brought up once previously on this call. We'll get back to that in a second. But with where we are today, we are, if anyone's driven by recently, you can see that the CMU towers are going up right now. So we have our 2 stairwells that have already topped out, and we're about halfway up on our elevator tower as well. We expect to be done with that within the next week or so. So that's the first arrow there in early March showing concrete and CMU being complete. And then from there, it'll be very exciting to see all the wood framing going up from floors 1 through 4 and getting up to our roof, which will actually be mid to late April. So that's only about 6 weeks behind the concrete masonry units being completed in the elevator and stairs. And then the big weather milestone for us is getting weather tight, which right now we're targeting mid-May. Once we do that, we have a lot of control over all of the work that we can do on the inside. We cannot do a whole lot of drywall and finishes if there's still water coming in. So we have to seal the building with waterproofing, make sure that we have our windows on. And that's what that milestone is here for mid-May. After that, we'll be working on the facade into June and July. And then until mid-January, the building will probably look pretty similar from the summer through December, January from the outside. And on the inside, we're just going to be doing a whole lot of work, making sure that everything is built up to that high quality standard that Grant was talking about. And then hoping to have a move-in sometime in the mid to late February timeline of 2026. So things are definitely moving on site. We built in a certain number of weather days based on a cooperative operations between the National Weather Service and National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. We had 20 days in our schedule based on typical weather patterns in Washington, D.C. We've already used 23 weather days. Obviously, that's not something that we have very much control over. So we would also like to request for at least the next 2 holidays, which is DC Emancipation Day in April and then Memorial Day in May, to be able to work on those holidays in order to keep construction schedule going and not have to work on weekends when people will be home. Other than that, we are happy to take questions about construction or the building.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna stop screen sharing so that
Sure.
did I give it to? There. Okay. So I can see everybody. Thank you so much for that presentation. I know Commissioner Holloway is on the call, but he's not able to talk by phone. But I do want to share with you, you asked about working on those holidays. So as we discussed by email, you will need to work with Commissioner Holloway and schedule a single member district meeting and get the support of those within 200 feet of your property, particularly the neighbors in that single member district. And then Commissioner Holloway can bring that to our next meeting in March, and then we can go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. I want to ask one question related to your presentation. what was it? I think I lost my train of thought. What percentage of the construction is done at this point?
I think we're at 42% complete at the
Okay.
moment.
Okay. Um, okay. All right. Are there other questions from the community? Commissioner Washington, former Commissioner Washington, please go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucio. I am the acting president of the Fort Totten Civic Association, which is in the area where where the building is located. And what I'd like to know, I mean, you mentioned that Commissioner Holloway should have a single member district meeting. I'd just like to ask Commissioner Holloway if he could reach out to me as well, so that maybe that he and I can get together and talk about the holidays, because I have been talking with those residents that live within the 200-foot, because they, come to the meeting. So I just like for him to, so we can talk and maybe we can come to some kind of agreement, and he can, spearhead where the single member district meeting can take place, virtually, as opposed to having, to bring everybody out. So that's a request and an invitation that I'm putting out to Commissioner Holloway. Thank you.
Thank you, former Commissioner Washington. Other questions about 108 Avenue?
I didn't have my hand up, but did you see it?
I cannot see I don't see your hand up. Go ahead, Commissioner Austin.
Okay. My question is, you're a nonprofit organization, you said, sir, and
Correct.
there is a nonprofit organization in our neighborhood that has been here for over 20 years, and also the United Planet organization that's working with this nonprofit organization. And United Planning has young people that finish a course like in plumbing, drywall, electrical, and a whole number of things. Is there any way that you can have these kids? Well, they're not kids; they're grown-ups. That you can have them come onto your site and do some internship as giving back to the community, because they are in our community.
I can speak to that a little bit. So our general contractor is Davis Construction. They're based out of Rockville, I believe. They do a ton of work in DC and are really, really good about engaging local communities. We do have a lot of funding coming from various government agencies. We're working with DHCD, Housing Community Development, DCHA, the Housing Authority, DCHFA. So they also have requirements of different kinds for engaging the local community. What we can do is, if you want to give me the name of that again, I can make sure that we pass that along to Davis, the general contractor, and they can reach out to the organization both for this project and for other projects in Washington, D.C. Like I said, they're actually probably the biggest local general contractor in the area. And they do a lot to try to engage the community. One of the things they were talking about today in our meeting was that they'll be bringing a local high school through at some point in March that's focused on like architecture and engineering, and making sure that the students there can come onto site and talk to various trades and understand those processes. So we are absolutely open to figuring out how we can do that. Like I said, we're about 40% of the way through. So there are certain trades that are easier to do that with than others, but I can certainly pass along the information and see what's still possible.
Joe and former Commissioner Washington, maybe you can answer this question, but I know pretty standard when the ANC 5A works through the building projects that are looking to get approval, and when we sign off on them, this is a question we always ask, and we make sure that it's part of the community amenities package and the agreement that there be, working with businesses within 5A, working to try and get neighbors as part of the project on-site construction, that's always typically part of what we do. And I see
Mhm.
Commissioner Washington nodding her head, so I'm assuming we did that for this when we signed off on it a couple years ago.
Yes, we did. Yes, we
Okay.
did.
Okay, so
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. So Joe, that should have been, or Grant, that should have been part of the agreement when we signed off on it before, correct?
Yeah, that sounds correct. I can double check, and I know we send reporting every month into the city who would have all those requirements, and that's going smoothly.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank
I
you,
just
Commissioner.
And
Go ahead.
are you saying that there's already an agreement with the people that you're working with now that they too do take people from the neighborhood, which they are working in, and bring them on to development and work in the development? There's so many people who are contractors that come here and work in Washington, D.C. You have people that are licensed here that never get the job. So I just want to make sure when people come, I'm a new commissioner. I just want to make sure when people come into our neighborhood, they are willing to take licensed people to work with them because they're working here in the city, not in Virginia, not in Rockville or wherever. That's what I want.
Yeah, correct, Commissioner Alston, correct. And I 100% agree with you. And that's something we always ask for when we do these projects through ANC 5A. Commissioner Washington, do you want to give a little bit of the backstory on this?
Yeah, I will, Commissioner Austin, Commissioner, at that time, Commissioner Frank Wiles was with us when we approved this project. And Commissioner Wiles was adamant about having and making sure that residents within our community and even individuals who had businesses were a part of this project and making sure they were able to be included in the bidding to do work at Wesley for the One Hawaii project. I mean, we went through this extensively. So I'm hoping that Davis is doing that. I don't know at that time if we had a developer that was approved, but I know that's part of the benefits package that went before zoning to be approved.
Okay, I'd like to see that, please, and a report on how it's going.
It should be, the original one should be on the website, but
I'd like to see it from Commissioner Washington, please.
yeah, former Commissioner Washington, you can get that to Commissioner Alston.
It would be at the office or online, like Emily said. I wouldn't have that physically in my hand, and the board, the zoning would have that as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Washington. Okay, former Commissioner Washington. Okay, other questions for this group? Oops, sorry. I'd like to move on if we can. Okay, thank you all so much. Please be in touch with Commissioner Holloway about setting up a single member district meeting and getting those work holidays approved, and former Commissioner Washington, who's the Civic Association president. And then we will hopefully see you back after that.
Can I
Excellent.
just say
Thank you,
one other
everyone.
thing before to
Sure,
Joe
Commissioner
and
Washington,
Grant?
former Commissioner. Yep, go ahead.
I know you said what days that you were considering was Emancipation Day and Labor Day. Is that what you're speaking of? I mean, Memorial Day?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, just me speaking as a former commissioner, I don't know about, and as a district resident, I would look at something other than Emancipation Day as being one of those days when you come to Commissioner Holloway's single member district, because I would think that would be a day that I would not be in support of, is Emancipation Day.
I also.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to our next agenda item. Our next agenda item is from McDonald's, and Commissioner Alston, do you want to give an introduction, please, to Elaine, who's here? And Elaine, I'm going to give you screen sharing. Go ahead, Elaine. Sorry, Commissioner Alston, go ahead.
My name's Eileen Seeberger. I'm the area construction
Hold on.
manager.
Eileen, hold on a second. Sorry. Commissioner Alston, do you want to go ahead and introduce the project?
It's the McDonald's project, and the young lady was on the phone. Can definitely go ahead. They're gonna be closing McDonald's, so she can bring you up on all the dates that they're closing. And she also has provided us with flyers so we can give to the neighbors in the neighborhood who do not have access to a computer to let them know the days and the times that they're going to be closing. They're anticipating on opening, finishing up the project in August if they possibly can. And they're in the process of trying to negotiate with the church next to the project on trying to get parking so they won't have to be parking in the neighborhood. They're going to try their best to make sure all the parking for their employees are on the site, but however, some may not be able to. So I think that's very great on what they're trying to do. So I'm just waiting to just get a little more clarification on the date uh, that they're going to be trying to get parking. You can go ahead.
Thank you. So my name's Eileen Seeberger. I'm the area construction manager for McDonald's for the rebuild on Dakota Avenue. I will share my screen.
Let me
We
just
did
clarify, it's
re-
South Dakota Avenue, so, because there's a North
Oh,
Dakota.
my apologies.
So
Thank
South
you for
Dakota
the
Avenue, yep.
correction. Thank you. Just making sure I'm sharing the right screen. We did receive our final permit from the Department of Buildings.
Sorry, we're not seeing the
earlier.
presentation.
I'm sorry?
We're not seeing the presentation.
You're not seeing my screen?
We can see,
Zoom.
it says Zoom, but we don't see your presentation.
Oh, sorry. Let me stop and restart.
You just have to select the correct screen. When it asks you, just select where.
I think this is it. Does this work better?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So we did receive our final permit from the Department of Buildings, and we are scheduled to close the business on this Saturday, March 1st. Our last day for the customers will be this Friday, February 28th. We have provided to Commissioner Alston copies of this identical flyer that she can share with the community members. Our goal is to be reopened, as Commissioner Alston said, in August, with some sort of grand reopening planned around the Labor Day weekend. The goal is on Saturday, March 1st, that the entire perimeter of the space would have the fencing installed. While that happens, the parking for the general contractor, for the superintendent, for the folks that will be on site will most likely be in our side lot here. And then we're planning about 6 weeks, somewhere around the middle of April, before the building will actually be demolished. There are utilities that need to be abandoned, as I'm sure you're reasonably familiar with. And then the only other piece that I just wanted to share with you tonight is this parking, temporary traffic plan, right? The traffic control plan. If this is our building here on this is South Dakota up here and Delafield coming up this way. Our utilities are in this area on Delafield. So while we dig up and trench out those existing lines that will be abandoned, this crosswalk will be closed. There'll be all of these, you can see over here on the left. I have it in smaller version. I can send this. This is what I was thinking I would send to you, the whole traffic control plan, but there will be signage, there will be flaggers, there will be Jersey barriers, the plastic orange barriers to mark off which parts of the streets are closed. We have 4 phases of construction to get through the abandonment and then the reinstallation of the new utility lines. Um, that really is all I have for tonight. We were successful in getting our building permit. We're ready to go. Friday will be the last day. The one other piece, this traffic control plan I wanted to share with you. One other piece for this is that before anything happens and before any sidewalks are closed, we will be providing notice. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's 72 hours, right, that the notices will be hung. And it isn't intentioned that it would take really more than maybe 2 weeks. And it will be for at least the first phase. We'll do and undo and redo and as we work through the phases for the construction and to the utilities on Delafield. That's all I have though.
So thank you, Elaine. Before
Yeah.
we take questions, there's one thing, Ms. Seaver, that was not addressed, which is what the reason why we'd asked you to attend in the first place tonight. And you didn't talk about the seating because
Yeah, I
this
can
this
address
body
that.
had not reviewed the change in the seating plan. You presented that to the North Michigan Park Civic Association. Could you please address that for this group, since this group voted on that first?
Yes,
I'm sorry,
if
Commissioner
you,
Alston, did you want to add anything to that before she talks?
No, we've been in contact.
Go
if you
ahead,
could bear with me
Ms.
just 1 second, I will pull up the seating plan.
I was just getting ready to ask her that when you did.
Thank you, Commissioner Alston. I apologize.
No. Thank you so much. Thank you
Yep.
so much.
Bear with me just another minute. I'm so sorry. I don't have it saved to my computer. I'm gonna go and grab it off the website.
Okay, and are you gonna send me your slide? I'm gonna need a copy of all your slides that you've shared with
course.
us tonight.
Of course,
So make
I'll
sure
send
to-
it out first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Of course. Bear with me just one more minute. Mhm. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see that. Thank you.
Okay. So this is a couple of pages on this presentation, but I may only share this page with you. And what I do want to maybe just make note of at first is that I already see one thing that may be adjusted on this plan. So a couple of points to note that there is a lot of seating in the store currently. However, it's not necessarily comfortable seating. And it's old. It is old. It looks old. It's really not something that's doing much for our brand, for the McDonald's brand. Additionally, with the addition of the drive-through, as well as a lot of our newer digital elements for product availability, we will be, we expect that not that the neighborhood is going to change, but that maybe the way that McDonald's is part of the community may change, because currently there is no drive-through, and that really, if you want anything from this McDonald's, you have to physically walk into the store. So hopefully there'll be a number of customers that really can just progress through the drive-through, maybe alleviate some of the congestion that may happen currently at the front counter in the location while people are waiting for orders. You can see these two areas. I'll just try and point out. So this area and beyond, this is all our kitchen back here, right? You can see the restrooms. We'll start at the right. You can see the two restrooms here. This is going to be a mop closet back here. And then this is the Happy Meal display, and then an area for some of the high chairs. When I said that I saw one thing wrong, I think we're only getting 2 single-sided kiosks. So they're showing 3 on this plan, but this is a significant channel of revenue generation for McDonald's now in nearly every store except for this one. So we'll be excited to see what the kiosk ordering can do. This unit in between here is this is a cash handler for those kiosks. And then this will be I believe this looks like it's either a trash receptacle. It is a trash receptacle. And then we'll have the seating here. We'll have some 2 tops for smaller parties. We'll have a couple of 4 tops for larger parties. And then this seats nearly a dozen here in this seating here. As well, there are some areas, these are wide pathways here. So the owner, if you recall, in one of the last presentations that I made, and I could pull that page up, I just don't have it at the ready just yet. But there are tables that are available that we can put maybe additional 2 tops, right? That we could turn these 4 tops into 2 tops, excuse me, into 4 tops if we needed. Or turn this 4 top maybe into a 6 top. So there are some additional like movable tables, almost we could call them, with additional seating that can be made available. And then this at the front counter up here, these 2 areas are for ready on arrival for customers that order and just want to walk in, pick it up and leave. And then for delivery up here on, on one side, we ready on arrival and then delivery on the other side. This
Ms.
is
Seberg,
oh, go ahead. Yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I just thought you were finished. I apologize.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just, no, that's okay. I was just gonna say, this is the vestibule here, and then it's expected that we'll have a late night window in here as well for pickup.
Could you tell me what the current seating capacity is at the current look with the current design?
Currently, I believe it's 45 or 47.
And what's it gonna go to?
I believe this is 22.
The current seating capacity under the occupancy permit is 72.
Is it 72?
70.
Okay, and it's going down to 22?
That's correct.
I thought
Okay,
we said,
so Ms. Seberg, I just want to just mention real quick that, you mentioned about the drive-through becoming a benefit, and while it is a benefit in some ways, but I want to just reiterate something that we've talked about for years with this project, is that the seating is really beneficial to this community. This is a hub, it's a location where residents in this community go and sit and have a cup of coffee and a meal and gather and talk. So, there's some dissent about the fact that the seating capacity is being reduced and the drive-through was added. There was, when the drive-through was suggested, there was a lot of the community that did not want the drive-through. Because this has been a community staple for the residents of this community to, as I said, to walk to go sit and have a cup of coffee. And so, I want to just mention that, that the seating capacity is extremely important to this community. Because this has always been a place where the community could just go and gather. And we're hoping that even though with the reduced seating capacity, and I understand that, this is the way most of the new McDonald's are going, right? With the self-service kiosks, with the smaller lobbies, with the drive-throughs, and I understand that. But this is a unique situation where this has always been a community benefit to have this as a gathering place. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
It is. We are, I 2 things. One, and this is probably actually something that I will look for from the owner to send to you. Our franchise partner, is we have really been able to do, and I didn't think of it though, my apologies, a seating study, right, over the last number of weeks to try and confirm how many seats are being used, right, over a certain period of time. We can also go back through the cameras and confirm exactly what that is, and we will. We don't want anybody to walk in and not be able to sit down if they want to sit down. The intention is that we will use some of the movable tables to incorporate more seating and maybe get that count up to 28 seats or something. But regrettably, we do have to be careful of access, of life safety. I mean, there are a lot of considerations that we'll want to make sure that we are addressing, as we make sure that the safety for all of the patrons is taken into consideration.
Great. Commissioner Alston, I apologize. You had a question.
Oh yeah. Before we had talked about 2 kiosks, not 3. 2 kiosks, and these kiosks were removable. They would be pushed up against the wall. We definitely have to consider the seating. Like she said, like Commissioner Emily said that we're a community and they always sit down. Now, if you do a study from the last 3 the last month or the month and a half, it may be low because the weather has been really, really bad. And I notice now that we have a lot of people coming in that they just order and then they have somebody go pick them up and go out. We have a lot of those. But far as the people still sitting in, having coffee and talking, our residents, they walk. They don't ride. It's a older neighborhood, and everybody owns their house there, and we must keep that in consideration because that's the reason we got a lot of pushback about not having it. Commit to yes, making the seating available. So we definitely have to do that. So I'm hoping you can go back to them, explain it to them. Not, I'll talk to them because we want to make sure this project works. We don't want anybody complaining about it's not working because it's not actually serving us.
I hear you. I understand. I do have some of the results of the seating survey that you did. I'm going to compare this to weather, right? I want to make sure we didn't do it during the snowstorm.
Yeah.
But it honestly, on this report right here that I'm looking at, and I will send this to you tomorrow morning. I'm just taking one quick look. The number 8 is, oh no, there's a 9 on here. And this is taken every hour from 8 a.m. to midnight. What's the greatest number of people sitting in the lobby? So years ago, when this store was built, and I guess I want to remind everyone, this McDonald's store, when they built McDonald's stores, we have 2 numbers for them. The location code, which to you would mean nothing, right? But to the national store number, this national store number for this McDonald's, and when they built them, they put them all in order. Store number 1, store number 2, store number 3. This is store number 40. It was one of the first in the country. And it, when it was designed during the last period that it had, the whole inside of it redone, it was a different world at that time, right? I'm not saying that we don't need, 30 seats. That would be great, right? I feel like we could all be reasonably satisfied, but we just can't take the chance of the life and safety. We really can only fit what we can fit. We're going to do everything we can to accommodate on an as needed basis. If there appears to be periods where we need more tables, we will have them at the ready, perhaps in the mop closet or somewhere nearby where those tables and chairs can be pulled out to accommodate the people at the time. And the employees in the store will be aware and ready to adjust, right? They'll be very adaptable for the influx of customers. I will share this seating survey with you, but I do just want to put it up, and I might even update it with the weather, because like I said, if we did it during the snowstorm, and I'm really hopeful we didn't, but
Really?
I want to
Yeah.
identify.
Yeah, that's good because the last time we talked about this, we were down to 28 seats, and I told you, I mean, I asked you to go back to them because we cannot go any less than 28 seats. And that's when we said that we're going to have 2 kiosks, not 3 kiosks, because our store is
Good.
there because the people who live there, we go there because that's precious to us. We know all about the store when it was built and whatever. Some of us still living that when it got built. So we want to keep that feeling, that community feeling. A drive-through is good, but let us not be good for somebody else. Let it be
Agreed.
good for
Agreed.
both of us.
I will say that there are only 2 kiosks. The plan showed 3, there are only 2. They are pushed up against the wall. That is the intention. I did ask for some of the adjustments that we had discussed. I actually asked for all of them when I got none of them. These are not decisions that I make. These are coming out of Chicago.
Understand.
They are, from the McDonald's brand
Mm.
department, right? And they're overseeing the brand global, not just nationally, but globally. So I have restrictions, but I do think that we have opportunities for at least one additional table, not to be a permanent table, but to be a movable table that we can find a permanent location for, bringing it up to 24, and then 2 additional 2-tops, which would bring it up to that would be the movable ones, that would bring it up to 28.
Okay,
Okay. Commissioner Alston, are you good? Because I want to try and get to
I'm
some of the
good.
other questions. Okay,
I'm good.
thank you. I want to touch on a couple. Chen, I'm going to let you ask your questions that you have in the chat, but I'm going to ask a couple of the other ones. Ms. Seeberger, let me just first share with everybody, in case those who have not been on ANC calls in the past, the complete plans and all the notes from the previous meetings where the McDonald's project was brought to our attention are on the ANC 5A website. And so you can find those there with the drive-through location and all of the other information. What just happened? Hold on a second. Sorry, my screen just shifted. I also just want to share, hold on one second. That the drive-through, Ms. Seeberger, can you just identify the entrance and exit of the drive-through lane?
The exit and entrance of the drive-through lane is off of South Dakota. Is that answer your
Yep.
question?
Yep, thank you.
Mhm.
And then it was asked if about the flyers. So just for everybody's knowledge, the flyer with the information was sent out on the email list. I can send it out again. Ms. Seeberger, if you can email that to me as well, I can send out the new one you just did. And then if there's anybody else who wants a copy of it, you can email Elaine Alston, Commissioner Alston, and she can also share that with you if you want it distributed in other areas. But if you want to email it to me, I'll get it on our email list. I'm going to go in order I see hands. I'm going to start with Uchenna.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I had a few questions that I did drop into this chat. One was just, I feel like so much of the information regarding this McDonald's rebuild has been frankly haphazard. And I don't think that there is like a single place for people to go to for information. And so my suggestion was just for McDonald's to create a fact sheet that can be posted on the ANC's website, containing key information, timeline, construction, contact information for emergency, construction emergencies, like who are residents supposed to call if there's a serious problem. The answer should not be contact your ANC commissioner. That makes no sense at all. So there does need to be a contact for construction emergencies. I do strongly encourage McDonald's to create a static webpage with this information. The ANC had trouble with this website for the past several weeks, where frankly, no documents, nothing was available on the ANC's website. And so again, I just think relying on the ANC for something like this that's really going to have an impact on residents, again, doesn't make sense. And so I really do strongly encourage McDonald's to create a link that can be sent to residents where residents can go for information. And then the last thing I wanted to raise was just, you already mentioned how you expect, these pickup delivery drop-offs to, pickup of deliveries to happen. You expect an increase of that. And so I'm just trying to understand, where are these people supposed to go? Like, we have the people riding the scooters, there might be people in cars. Is your expectation that all of them will just be able to drive into the lot and park for a short amount of time necessary to go and pick up the order and then leave? I'm having a little difficulty understanding how all of the drive-through as well as the delivery pickup is all going to work together.
So, thank you for the question. Oh, I'm sorry, did somebody else want to say something?
Hi, yeah, this is Christian. I don't know if you want me to answer that
Sure.
or, okay.
This Christian is, works with the franchisee for this location. Go ahead, Christian. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, and to everyone, my name is Christian Mercado, and I'm also dealing with operations on this one. So basically, currently we have those channels, but they're not built into the restaurant the way they're supposed to. So it's not going to change anything. We will have pickup. The only thing is that instead of right now they're parking in front of the store, but there's nowhere that they can pick up because the counter, the way it was designed back in the day, they were just handing. So it's just gonna have a shelf, but the expectation is gonna be the same as it is right now. So they were parked in the parking lot, nowhere outside the store, and they will come in and there's gonna be two different shelves, one for delivery, one for ready on arrival, just to pick it up. But the expectation, like in the other stores, is that they will park inside the store, inside the parking lot of the store.
So there will be enough room for the drive-through lanes. There will be enough room for people to pull into the side in order to park and pick up the deliveries.
Yes, that's
Correct.
correct.
Yes.
And then additionally, I'll be providing my cell phone number, and I, as well, as Jose mentioned earlier from Luling, I pride myself on being available and accessible. If you call me and I can answer, I will answer. So I will be providing, and Commissioner Lucia, when I send everyone the notes, and Commissioner Alston, when I send everyone the notes tomorrow morning, I'll be putting my cell phone number on that distribution for you.
Thank you. Jenna, is that
Okay.
Good.
And is McDonald's planning to create a static webpage, just like a link with this information for residents to have?
Honestly, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
It's not my intention to, no. And if I had the bandwidth to do it, I might consider it, but I don't. And I would say that if there's something specific that you need or you want to see and that I am able to share with you, I'd be more than willing to share it. I want to be completely transparent with the community.
So, Ms. Sieber, with other construction projects, in at least those in my single member district, I've negotiated with the construction project leads to send me an email with a weekly update, and I post those on my email list for my residents. If you'd like to send that to me, I'm happy to send it out to the community, the ANC 5A email list. Uchenna, I know that's not perfect, but I don't know if that'll help.
Well, I mean, we're talking about McDonald's and decisions coming from Chicago, which is why people were opposed to this strike in the first place, because this whole thing is being driven by people in Chicago who don't live here. But that ship has sailed. So we're talking about McDonald's, a multi-billion dollar company, and they can't create a website with basic information. I find that very hard to believe, and I don't think it's a lot to ask. I'm not saying that you personally have to create this website, Ms. Seeberger. No one's asking that, but surely McDonald's, who you're getting direction from in Chicago, has resources to provide you to someone in McDonald's can create a site with information for residents who will be impacted by this project. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
I guess I would just say that I would clarify that the direction that is coming from Chicago is just the brand direction. It is it is regarding what the interior of the McDonald's and the seating can look like. When I say brand, that's what I mean. They also have specifics as far as what the kitchen will look like. But that's really as far as the brand goes. The rest of the project is being handled regionally. And while McDonald's is paying for part of it, McDonald's isn't paying for all of it. That the owner, the franchisee, will be sharing in the costs with McDonald's for this rebuild project, which is a multi-million-dollar project.
Okay, I think the owner's on the call, and it's weird that we haven't heard from the owner. But again, I find it hard to believe that someone's telling me. I run a neighborhood blog. It honestly, you could even have a free WordPress. Like, it is honestly not that hard to create a web page with some basic information, and it's very annoying at this point that like there's this insistence that that cannot happen. But I will stop. Thank you.
Then I can quickly jump in. So good evening, everyone. I'm one of the owners, Luis Cavagnano. And again, I spoke at the previous ANC meeting and put the details out there. So again, with us, we're a private business. So again, there's McDonald's Corporation, then there's our company. When it comes to directions, to fully clarify Eileen's point, these directions come from MHQ, McDonald's headquarters in Chicago, and they get passed down to us. When it comes to decision making, it's very challenging to get a hold of them and to just get them to comply with such regulations. So that's why it's a little challenging to, even if it's a website, it might sound easy, but getting a hold of them and getting their approval is a long process. So again, just wanted to share that.
Luis, I just want to clarify, you've never been to an ANC meeting. The last meeting you were at was the North Michigan Park Civic Association meeting. You've not been to this ANC meeting yet.
Okay, but with the Civic,
again,
with the Civic Association meeting, we introduced ourselves, we put,
Right,
the
but that's
details
a
on the table.
different, that's not the same group of people necessarily.
But
Yeah,
they
but
were
the
at
information should be
previous-
flowing to
They
this
were
group
at the
of people.
previous ANC meeting, the one just before that, before the civic meeting. All of the both Gavignano's
Okay,
and Christian was there. I think
Yeah.
previous to that they weren't, but
right. This is the ANC commission just started in January. And that was a business meeting that we did not have any presenters at. So the ANC commissioners for ANC 5A were new in January. And the ANC, just so for your clarity, if you're not familiar with the way DC works, the civic associations are separate from ANCs and they cover different territories. Some of them overlap, but they do cover different territories. And so the information is not shared flowingly between the two.
No, got it. And I understand. And again, our goal is similar to what we presented at the previous meetings. Again, we want to be fully transparent. But again, on our end, there's also limitations as to what we can do. Again, there's limitations with what information we can share, with timetables. So again, anything that we have that we can share, we will more than happy present to you all. But it's just, a balance. We can't, again, there's certain pieces we can share and certain pieces we cannot.
I think the goal right now is for you to be providing regular updates with a point of contact throughout the construction. If, obviously the ideal would be to set up a website, but if that's not possible for whatever reason, whatever other way you can get it to us on a regular, consistent basis that we can get it posted and shared with the community would be appreciated. Let me go on. We've got 3 other hands up. Let me go on to Deb.
Thank you. My question has to do with the rendering she showed where the crosswalk is going to be closed for was it the utility work or something?
yeah.
My question is, what impact, excuse me, if any, will that work have on the traffic pattern and parking on that end of Delafield? If the crosswalk is closed, is there also impact on the street?
Yeah, there will still be traffic flow. There will be flaggers. It is expected to take less than 2 weeks. And the time frame that we're allowed to do any work on the street is just between 9:30 and 3:30.
So when you
Okay.
say traffic flow, is the right turn only lane going away?
Nope, nope.
So, but the crosswalk would be closed.
That's correct. That's correct. And I believe the crosswalk is only closed during phase one. But the notices will, we're working with Flagger Force, right, to make sure that we've got all of the street notifications up and all of the Jersey barriers in place to ensure that the traffic flow will be safe.
So what, the Jersey barriers, there will be Jersey barriers on Delafield?
Short for a short period of time. That's right, because we will have workmen in the street that will be behind the barriers, right, while they trench through the asphalt to the utility lines.
So that means at least one lane is going to be taken out then.
Yes, but I don't believe it's the right only, and I'm sorry if I misinterpreted your question.
So the Jersey barriers will be on Delafield Street. Is that what you're
Temporarily,
saying?
yes, they will.
So that means a lane is going to be taken out
That's
by
correct.
the Jersey
Yes.
barriers.
Yes, that's correct.
And it will be the right turn only lane.
I think the right will be in the far left lane.
No, you're
So
gonna
I
have to
don't
be in the
think it's
far
right
right
turn.
lane.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Isn't it, I'm assuming it's gonna be the far right lane, because the right lane is the one that's closest to the McDonald's.
Right.
There will be a
And
part
one
of-
lane is parking.
There
So
will be part of that, but the actual connection to the utilities is in the far left lane.
So it's on the opposite side of the street?
It is.
where there's residential parking, so there would be no parking for the resident.
Well, just in a few minor spots, not the entire street. It would just be a couple of spots where,
There are
maybe-
only 3 parking spaces there. Right.
then we may lose all 3 temporarily. That's correct.
Yeah, okay, but so we need to make sure that there's proper signage put up by the city about when those are, and then, there's not a lot of other options for residents to park, but Ms. Eberger, to Uchenna's point earlier, this is really the exact reason why we need regular construction updates with these very finite details, so residents know what to anticipate in
Mhm.
terms of the impacts to them, because losing that lane on what's already a narrow street is gonna have a significant impact on this community.
Ms. Lucio,
Yes,
Ms.
Mr.
Lucio,
Thomas, go ahead.
yes, yeah. It sounds a little more complex than what we thought. At this point, we probably need to get a stop work order so we can get a clear understanding what sidewalk is going to be open, what sidewalk is going to be closed, how the traffic is going to handle, and those homeowners who pay their fair share of taxes know exactly what's going on to open up this, redo this McDonald's. This McDonald's it's becoming a notion that's more than what I expected. Either they don't know or hidden, they don't, they may not know what's going on, but we need to find out exactly what's going on. And probably the best thing at this point now is to do a stop work order until we get a clear understanding how this McDonald's is going to renovate. How many floors, how many seats, let the community know. And so if just McDonald's want to move forward, fine. I have no problem with it. But this back and forth at this time, this is not what the taxpayers are looking for. Thank you.
I guess I would just say we haven't started, so I don't know how we could stop. But I did.
We
Also,
can find out. So don't think you can't stop now.
I appreciate
that.
that. I do.
Don't-
I
don't do
really
that.
do.
Don't do that.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't want it any more than
Yeah,
than
okay.
anyone else wants it. But what I will
Okay.
tell you is, I will send you the full traffic control plan that has been approved by the DDOT. And then we are having an on-site meeting, myself and the general contractor and a lot of the architect of record, the engineer of record, the inspectors. We're going to confirm the schedule. I don't know. We literally just got our building permit issued this morning. So,
Ms. Seeberger, let me ask you a question, because I
Sure.
agree to an extent with Commissioner Thomas. And, you saw the presentations that were done before you with, complete PowerPoints. Is it possible that if we scheduled a special meeting within the next week or so, you could have a PowerPoint, because now you're talking about, your traffic plan and all that, and, obviously, I'm sure you could share that in pieces tonight too, but we'd really like is a polished presentation with all of these questions answered, and perhaps you can go to somebody and develop a communications plan to inform the community of the status of the project throughout the project timeline. I mean, is it possible that you all could do that within the next couple of weeks?
Of course, it's possible, 100%. I can also resend the deck that I did present. I think it was on February 5th. Now, that may have been to the Civic Association.
Right,
But
and that's what I thought we were
deck,
gonna
that
present
deck
it
was
tonight.
sent the following morning to all of the commissioners. I'm happy to resend it. And then really the only thing that we've added to that deck is the confirmation that we've received our building permit and the fact that there will be some very temporary parking adjustments while we get the utilities abandoned and then reinstalled.
But let me reiterate, that's not what you presented tonight. I mean, if your plan was to present the same slide deck, then we should have had you present the same slide deck. That was not presented to this community. You may have sent it to the people who were on that email that you sent out, which was Commissioner Alston, myself, and the North Michigan Park Civic Association president. But it was not every commissioner on this call, and it was not the entire community that was on this call. So,
Okay. I'll be happy to send it, and then I can add the traffic information to it, and then I'd be happy to put on a separate presentation if that's what you think. We're willing to do whatever it takes.
Okay, I think that would be helpful, and I think that we'd also like to request that you all come up with a communication plan prior to that time we meet. Commissioner
Okay.
Alston, is that okay with you?
Yes, I just want to say something too, that I am going to be with the whole team on next Wednesday on the 6th.
Wednesday the 5th, yes.
Wednesday the 5th, I will be with the team, and I with my eyes see exactly where it's going to be. We've come too far with this project. Not, I don't want to try to stop it because we've come too far for too many years to make this happen. Now, I do know, I want to say something about the owners. They were under the consumption that North Michigan Park was the one that was making all of these decisions. That's when I came aboard, I tried to tell them that no, that's not what it was. So they may have sent something to them or told them something that should have gone through me because this is my SMD. So we definitely need that communication, and she says she's willing to do it. And I talked to the owners. The owners are really positive, and they want to do whatever we can do. I do know that sometimes people are under certain situations that they can't do but a little bit. Now, as far as the street is closed, I'll check downtown. And, wait a minute, I'll check downtown. But when you have the that electrical line, you have to go where it starts. So it may not just start on the McDonald's lot. It probably goes all the way across the street over there where the streets have where the parking is for those 3 cars. But I'll be there and to talk to everybody, and then I'll call downtown tomorrow while you're
Okay.
getting all the other
Thank you, Commissioner
information.
Alston.
I'll commit to a Monday morning update from myself for the team.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think,
Okay.
meeting with Commissioner Alston, was probably helpful. I do think we need to get a more comprehensive slide deck with all of the information, including this issue about the Jersey wall barrier and the impact of that on Delafield Street. A communications plan from McDonald's that, will guarantee that the community is updated regularly with a construction site point of contact. in case there is a problem, like Uchenna mentioned, because we've had issues with things like that in the past. You know, I do agree with Commissioner Alston that we have been working very hard on getting this project through for the last several years. We're not at a stage where we're arguing about the design anymore because that's already been approved, right? This was primarily for information purposes for the community to let them know about the change in the seating because that was not originally something that this community had approved of. But I do agree that the communication has been kind of sparing and sparse, and you know, there needs to be a very clear-cut communication plan, and then a lot of these questions answered that are being asked by the community in one cohesive presentation, that then we can, you know, also share that slide deck with the community. We have a few minutes left, and I want to make sure we get to Bill's question. Go ahead, Commissioner Thomas. Go ahead.
I want to say, Ms. Austin said we've come a long way. No, this should have been done a long time ago. And if it's not going to be done right, then we have to start over again. If the McDonald's closed down, it'll close down. There's too many McDonald's around here. But we want this done right. They should not have been dealing with the Civic Association. This place is making money. They're smart enough to know what the deal is. And they're dealing with the Civic Association. No, shame on you to McDonald's for doing that. Wasting the taxpayers' time with this. Shame on you.
Again, sir,
You're going to zoning. You go down to zoning. The Civic Association is not sitting down at the table at zoning. Shame on you. You are insulting us at this point.
Sir, so to provide a little context, again, we took over this restaurant May 22nd, 2024. Again, what was promised before, again, it's past our knowledge. We don't know what was presented in front of the community. Again, we're acting from now moving forward. So again, it's in your interest.
This is not about the McDonald's giving the Civic Association amenity package. No, it's about doing this the right way.
Right. No, don't give them nothing. That's not right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Alston. Thank you. Okay, so Bill, you've had your hand up for a while. Please go ahead.
All right. I have 2 points. Number one, the bus stop. Since you mentioned this fence that's going to go around and then the crosswalk being closed, just curious, had you considered, that's a busy bus stop right there. What's going to happen with that bus stop? But the main question I have is this. Behind the McDonald's is something that's described as an alley. Across that alley is a vacant lot. It is my understanding that vacant lot is owned by McDonald's. That could, if that's the case, that could be where your employees who are doing your construction could park. Just thought I'd put it out there.
Thank you, Bill. Nothing will happen. The fencing will be on the other side of the sidewalk, right? So it'll be well behind the bus stop. The fencing will not interfere with the bus stop at all. It is a busy bus stop. The parking on the other side, that extra lot that you mentioned, we have, I don't know if actually parking is available. I feel like it's raised and it's not available for parking. Christian, do you know specifically?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have access to that. I mean, the lot, it's right behind that alley, but it's going to be difficult for cars to go into that lot to park. I mean, we can do something with the general contractor to see if we can do that. The other thing, just we can share. So just not Eileen is the only point of contact. What I was thinking, because I know that everyone has a lot of questions about these. We currently have a poster there that says We Care. It's a yellow big poster which has an email and a phone number that you guys can also reach out. But once we put up, and it's gonna be once we put up the fencing, I'm thinking we're gonna post also a banner there on the fence where we can have a QR code and a number and an email for anyone that has any specific questions or anything that we can answer. So if in case Eileen is not available, or we cannot reach out, or because also we don't want to with the general contractor being there and working around, if there's something that they're not doing correctly, so that you guys can reach out immediately and so we can answer directly to any of those questions. We will also have a group chat with the team that's managing these, so we can address any of the issues or concerns, or when there's, those 2 weeks that, they're going to work on the side, we can inform way before, so everyone is aware, and we're going to be on site also. And next week we will meet with Miss Elaine and there, so we can explain to her also everything that's going on. But I'm thinking we're going to have this banner. I mean, this just came up, so I will try to have it by Saturday to when the fencing goes up, if not the latest by next week.
I think that would help, Christian. Thank you very much. I've made a note of that, so let's anticipate that will be the plan. Will the bus stop be impacted at all by the construction traffic or the construction work at all?
Should not be,
No.
no.
Okay.
No.
I think there's still a lot of outstanding questions. And while I hear Commissioner Thomas and his desire to have a stop work order, what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you all another chance to get us the information we need before we go that route. So I'd like to work with you all to schedule another meeting, and the commissioners, we need to provide, typically we provide a week's notice unless there's an emergency meeting of some sort. When are you starting construction again?
Well, the fencing will go up on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And then we really will begin the disconnect of the utilities. We have to have some pre-construction meetings first. That's Wednesday. Some of those additional meetings with inspectors may linger through Thursday, but the actual demolition of the building, is that what you're talking about, Commissioner?
Well, what's going to happen after those meetings on Wednesday and Thursday?
Well, then we have to get all of the utilities shut off. And once all the utilities are shut off, then we have to confirm and obtain abandonment letters, right? Or that the gas is turned off to the building and the electric is turned, that all of the utilities are in fact closed, and that we can then disconnect them from the building and take them out of the street, take the abandoned ones out of the street. And then we'll be able to take the building down itself. And that's projected at some point in mid-April.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of time before sort of the major things happen.
Correct.
Okay. Is it possible we could meet on Wednesday, March 19th? Commissioners, would that work for you?
It would work for me.
Commissioner Alston?
I don't want to wait that long. Why do you have to wait 19th?
Well, I want to give them time to prepare their stuff, and I am not and the 12th is the Ward 5 award ceremony, so all of us are occupied on the 12th.
How about the 6th or the 13th?
Well,
yeah.
But those are Thursdays. And actually there are 2 single member district meetings on the 5805 is the 6th, and we could maybe do the 13th. But there's not much difference between the 13th and the 19th if not much is going to happen. Would you be opposed to the 19th, Commissioner Alston?
Yeah, that's too long. I wanted to get everything straightened out earlier so we can continue to get this process going. And
okay. Okay. All right. So then we can do the 13th. Commissioner Thomas, does the 13th work for you?
What day is that on?
It's a Thursday.
Okay.
Commissioner Thomas? Mr. Gavignano?
Yeah, so Commissioner Lucia, I just wanted to make one more point. Again, I fully understand the concerns of Commissioner Thomas. Again, the taxpayer dollars, the plan. Again, I completely get it. But just the comment that there's too many McDonald's, the point I want to reiterate is that, again, we, speaking for myself, Christian, Eileen, the team we have here, we are not McDonald's Corporation. Again, we're a family-owned business that coincidentally owns the South Dakota Avenue McDonald's. Our goal, as I made it very clear with you, Commissioner Lucia, when we met, again, our goal is to help the community and help our business. That's it. Again, we don't want to cause a burden. We don't want to negatively impact any resident. Again, we want to connect with the community and have good business results. That's it.
That would not get it with my community, okay? I'm letting you know that right now. We have a problem. We're trying to straighten this problem out. So that's not going to fit it. Okay. So when it comes to this community and you're looking to do things, you have to do it right. And if it
No,
gets real nasty and it gets real dirty, well, we got to get our point across to every developer who comes in this community.
and again, sir, I completely understand your point, but
One
my
more.
point was the comment of
Yeah.
there's too many McDonald's. Again, I'm not
There is too
responsible
many
for
McDonald's.
McDonald's Corporation.
Well, franchise,
Okay.
whatever you want to name it.
Okay,
Whatever color you want to
Commissioner-
paint.
Everyone,
Let's stop right
we're
there.
at 9:02, so I
Yeah.
want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Yeah.
So if we can all agree, and Commissioner Holloway is also in agreement that the 13th works. So if we can all agree that we will set a meeting for Thursday, March 13th. Thursday, March 13th at 6:45. I will send out a notice. And then for all the people representing McDonald's, we really like a well-polished presentation with answers to all of the questions that have been asked tonight, and in particular, a communications plan for the community, as well as the traffic issues and then any impacts to the traffic flow related to construction at the different phases. I want to take one last question because Deb has had her hand up, and then we're gonna end the conversation. So Deb, go ahead.
And I just want to add the point you just said where you're talking about the traffic flow, that there are at least one, maybe two residents that have their recycle collected from the street on Delafield. So if there's a Jersey barrier on the side of where the houses are, they will not be able to place their recycle bins in the street, which they have to do because they don't have alley access for collection.
So maybe Ms. Seeberger, if you can outline in your PowerPoint, please, the dates that those Jersey walls are going to be up, the days and dates, so we have an exact time frame of when that's going to be, so we can determine whether that will impact trash collection, and and how we notify the residents of the impact of that, and what you're doing to work with the city to make sure that that is not a barrier to their trash getting picked up.
I would love
And it's
to.
recycle
I'm sorry.
collection.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
sorry,
fine.
recycle, okay.
I would love to, but the DOT hasn't told us yet, right? So I really don't
Okay,
know,
well,
and I
you've
won't
got
know until
2
they do
weeks.
tell us. But what I will tell you is, if those, I could talk to the general contractor, and if those bins need to be rolled further up the street or down the street or into a spot where the recycle truck can pick up all three at once, then they'll do it. That's not an issue. We'll be happy to monitor that and make sure that as long as we know which houses, we're more than happy to step in and roll them either up or down the street.
Okay, well, you've got a little over 2 weeks to try and see if you can get
We'll
further
try.
clarification
We'll
on
try.
that. The other thing I'm gonna ask Ms. Seeberger is that perhaps to alleviate some of the traffic from your construction car parking, maybe talk to the owner of the strip mall next door. We're not suggesting y'all take over all of those spaces because we still need to be able to allow people to get to the Chinese restaurant next door. But if it's possible, you may be able to use some of those spaces if the owner of that strip mall is amenable to that. If Ms. Alston can assist you with that.
I think we've been in, at least Commissioner Alston and myself have been talking about maybe working with the church for that. So within our own site and then with the church, I think we won't have anybody parking on the street.
Great. Okay. All right. So we will plan to have you guys back on the 13th, and
Thank you.
and you'll have a much more put together presentation with all these questions answered would be appreciated.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you all very much with that. It is 9:05 and I'm going to end the meeting. I apologize we didn't have time for community comments because we ran over, but please be aware that our next meeting is Wednesday, March 26th, with the addition of this other special meeting in addition. Commissioners, thank you all very much, and I'll be in touch.
Emily, can I ask one more question, please?
Sure. Go ahead, Deb.
There was no trash collection whatsoever in our neighborhood today. I was just wondering if other neighborhoods also did not receive trash collection. Not from Delafield, not 8th Street, not South Dakota Avenue.
Okay, Deb, if you want to email me, I will follow up on that because I know we've had a problem in my neighborhood as well, but not today, I don't believe. But can you email me and I will follow up on that?
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.